cognitive decline. So that's very, very exciting for people just for that one reason alone. And, I have so many of my own testimonials, but my most recent one was a very rapid recovery from a total knee replacement. My orthopedic surgeon was blown away. And all I did was ask him to research the copper peptide, GHKCU. And he did his homework and he said, I'm intrigued. So I'm working on him. He's got a sports medicine practice, and I think it's going to make a big difference. And he's a Hall of Fame football player from BYU, so I think
Oh, wow.
it can help him too with some of the residual aches and pains from his background. So thank
Robin,
you.
I think it's worth just mentioning really quick. We have a study that we're doing, and it is with a very prominent organization. I'm not going to say who it is now, but it could lead to very, very big things for LifeWave. But we are looking at both X39 and carnosine because both independently have shown improvements in cognitive function. So we're very excited about that. But in our studies with carnosine and X39, we have shown that we can reverse normal age-related declines in cognitive function, improving short-term, long-term memory, and even speed of processing. So this, is something now that people do not have to fear as a result of normal aging. And that's, of course, incredibly exciting.
Beyond exciting. Especially for people that are caregiving their parents and dealing with it's such a challenging situation. So now it's time to hear from you guys because lots of you sent questions and we can't get to every single one of them, but we're going to have Connie Lucas, a certified healthcare practitioner and educator, serial entrepreneur, someone who has joined the business, has become a very special friend and colleague with me, to come on board and ask you some of these great questions that you practitioners have sent in to us. So come on in, Connie. There you are.
Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you all. David, thank you so much for doing this again with us. I really appreciate your time. And I think you can see I've been astounded. Robin alluded to it earlier, but I've been astounded how many medical practitioners who have never considered bringing an MLM company into their practice are beyond excited to bring LifeWave into their practice. They're seeing that the technology is so powerful that this is at the leading edge of science. And so you can see by us having, well over 500 people tonight and a vast majority of medical practitioners, just the excitement around it. So we pulled some of the questions from these practitioners and you've actually addressed a couple of them.
Okay.
So, you addressed a little bit about the idea of the enhanced clinical outcome when somebody is using stem cell activation in their practice.
Right.
Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, you mean when a practitioner is going to be giving an exogenous injection of stem cells, right?
Correct.
Yeah, this is a very interesting area to explore. One of the reasons to be interested in copper peptide is because of its ability to help regulate and manage inflammation. Another patch that practitioners should be looking at is the EON patch for exactly the same reasons. So one of the things that was discovered in La Jolla, California, was that stem cells are attracted to inflammatory cytokines. So if we went through the cycle of first there's an injury, then there's an increase in oxidative stress, then there's inflammatory stress. All of these things we often think of oxidative and inflammatory stress as being really bad things, but only if they're not managed properly. But these molecules are really powerful because they can help to keep down infection and also signal stem cells to be attracted to the injury site and then of course start the healing process. Well, the problem is that when the stem cells get to the site of the injury, especially in people that are older, the inflammation, as inflammation hangs around, it will decrease the total population of stem cells. And this is one of the single biggest challenges that researchers in stem cells face. So now imagine you can introduce copper peptide. Copper peptide is going to have a number of critical benefits for when there are external or exogenous injections of stem cells. First thing is copper peptide is going to attract immune cells over to the site of the infection. And in research studies, it was shown that the incidence of infection actually drops to only 3 to 6%. That's compared to over 30% risk of infection without copper peptide. So clinically, that's of value. The other thing, of course, that's going to happen is copper peptide is going to help to manage the inflammation associated with the injury, and this will increase, we think, the survivability of those exogenous stem cells. So that's where I would see the synergy between stem cell injections and X39.
Absolutely. That's perfect. And that was from Dr. Owen, MD. And then Dr. Stewart, who's an MD, you also mentioned the mitochondrial function and upregulation. And so I think you hit on that he was wondering if there was a published study, and you did mention that as well.
Yeah, so we had a study going back to 2005 with energy enhancer on upregulating mitochondrial function. And then we have another study on it as well. We did urine analysis on that. The study on X39 and mitochondrial function hasn't been published yet, and that's related to COVID. A lot of our researchers got shut down, during this period. So, we've limped along this year with some of our research and pressed on with others, but that's going to be forthcoming.
Right. And you actually, as you're hitting on COVID, I think that, there's a lot of emotional challenges that people are having right now. And Dr. Barbara, who is a DC, she says, please tell us about the Nirvana supplement. Why did you choose the ingredients? Why do they work? And how is it synergistic with the patches?
So in the case of the Nirvana supplement, we had the privilege of working with a French scientist in Europe. He is a scuba diver, and he was scuba diving, and he happened to find a white seaweed, Padina pavinica. And what was interesting about this, he said, well, why is this seaweed white? And as he analyzed it, he's a biochemist, as he analyzed it in his lab, he found that there was a compound that was causing the seaweed to pull calcium ions from the seawater into this plant. So he began to isolate different naturally occurring compounds in the seaweed. And one of the things that he discovered is that one of the compounds could chronically stimulate production of beta endorphins. And this had two very important effects. First, beta endorphins help us feel happy. And from a practical point of view, beta endorphins are 20 to 30 times more powerful than morphine at relieving pain. Another benefit of beta endorphins, which you can't study in a traditional way, but when you elevate beta endorphins chronically, what happens is it triggers the fibroblast to increasing production of collagen. So Nirvana actually is a very powerful anti-aging product as well. But the key synergy here is that this scientist had the problem that it took 3 to 6 months for this nutrient to be absorbed by the cells and the levels to come up high enough in the body where they could be effective. And so I developed the Nirvana patch and found that we could increase the assimilation to where we were treating depression in as little as 3 weeks. And so we went from 3 to 6 months down to 3 weeks with LifeWave.
Well, and right now, don't we all need a little bit more joy?
We do. We don't want to, Connie, I think it's fair to say, we don't want to be in a state of fear. I would be happy to come back with another researcher and talk about this, because we just actually completed a study on this. We performed a study over the last 6 months, and what we found is that the anxiety over COVID is leading to devastating metabolic effects, including telomere shortening. We actually have evidence now that the stress from COVID is shortening telomeres and decreasing lifespan. And the way that people can combat this is to de-stress, remain calm, and to do activities that you, as a healthcare practitioner and doctor, are already familiar with, of supporting immune function. I will also say this, I can't get into all of this. We did a study on COVID-19 at a hospital in the United States, and I have to withhold some of the details because I don't want to run afoul with FDA. But what I can tell you is that one of the important parts of the study is that we gave people supplements of copper glycinate, 2.5 milligrams of copper glycinate daily. We found that, now these were medical doctors, nurses, and EMT workers. We found that and they were working in hospitals with COVID-19 patients, when they got infected with COVID-19, they were asymptomatic. So the important thing here is that people should feel empowered. There's natural antivirals, and there's plenty of things that people can do to protect themselves from this virus.
Perfect. Well, you also spoke, as we talked about the immune system. Barbara, who is a CNHP, said, how will X39 be effective in re-educating the body's immune system?
That's a tricky one because, you know, there have been warning letters sent by the FDA to companies making claims about enhanced immune function. You know, it's actually funny because pre-COVID, you could talk about supporting immune health all you wanted and really not have a problem with FDA. I think the concern is some companies went beyond that. Two of the essential oil companies, one of them specifically, they got 14 warning letters from the FDA because they were saying use these essential oils to protect yourself from COVID. And they really don't have any, you know, business doing that without studies. But, you know, the fact of the matter is there are a number of effects here. At our conference in the US, Melinda Connor presented her research data, and we very clearly showed that X39 was improving the health of the gut and the immune response. There are clinical studies that show copper peptides use in improving immune function, but I can't mention how because that'll get me in trouble, but it's there for anyone to see. Also, we know that the immune system becomes compromised over time because of the degradation of the cell signaling. So the intracellular, extracellular communications, cell communications within the cell, signal induction and signal transduction effects. So this will lead to autoimmune disorders like arthritis. So if we improve mitochondrial function, we improve cell health and cell signaling, and this happens with copper peptide because of gene modulation, this inevitably leads to an improved immune response.
I think you did that fabulously compliantly.
I'm trying. I'm doing it on the fly, Connie, so I'm doing my best.
Really well. So Dr. Liu, who is an MD, said, what inspired you to use some of the key Chinese medicine points to activate the entire body? And then a follow-up, can X39 increase levels of IGF-1, IgGB3, P3? So
I've been told I was Chinese in a previous life, which is probably true. I absolutely love Eastern medicine. I love acupuncture. I love TCM. And so I made a study of acupuncture for over 20 years. And I have practiced Qigong for about that period of time as well. But in any case, scientifically speaking, there is enough evidence now that the meridian system is real, right? They're essentially a network of collagen fibers, and it is faster than the signaling that occurs through the nervous system. And we know today that these collagen threads, which have electrolytes attached to them, are transparent to infrared light. And so effectively, the meridian system are fiber optic cables. So the points were selected for kind of optimum effect. So we use stomach 36 because it's clearly one of the most powerful points in the body. Kidney 1 on the bottom of the feet, we have just found through experience, is incredible at producing a relaxation response in the autonomic nervous system. So when we apply LifeWave there, of course, it helps to dramatically reduce pain. And of course, upregulating kidney energy anyway is going to be great for health. So that's a very, very lengthy subject, but I'll just say, because I've made a study of acupuncture and have had the opportunity to work with some great acupuncturists, this has been a collaboration that's developed over time. And so we have these points today because of these great people.
Fantastic. And Dr. Barber was also asking, you know, so many times you have a patch that you develop for a particular use, and then you realize that it has other benefits. And one of those seems to be the SP6. It was created for food cravings. However, it seems to have the side benefit of balancing hormones. Can you explain that?
Okay.
Are we getting into too much here?
Well, no, what I would say is, Dr. Homer Nazarian, we had a symposium in California. It was in 2009 and 2010, where we invited in all of our researchers that were working on different clinical studies. And one of the interesting things is Dr. Homer Nazarian, who's a biomedical engineer, did a meta-analysis of our studies. And he actually came to the conclusion that at that time, SP6 produced the strongest bioelectrical effect of any of the patches that we had. And so the point, of course, that we recommend is the spleen 6 point, the SP6 point on the inside of the left ankle. Well, that, of course, that point is going to stimulate and sedate the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is going to regulate body temperature, immune response, hormones in the body. And so women that are going through menopause, for example, they stimulate SP6 with that patch, are going to find all of a sudden now that their symptoms, such as hot flashes, are going to be improving. So this is not a direct result of what the patch is doing biochemically, but rather its ability to increase the bioelectrical potential of the cell, increase cell signaling and nerve conduction, and as a result, we get greater activity in the hypothalamus.
And I just love the fact that it's a 2-for-1.
It is. Well, many of the patches, most of the patches are 2-for-1.
Most of them are, right?
Yeah, most of them, at least.
Sometimes even more. And she actually asked too that with some of these patches, we know that we're wearing our X39 every day, and with many of the patches, they are worn every day. However, she's asking that with patches like SP6 and carnosine, would it be preferable or best to use them every other day or daily? I know that it recommends, it seems to say in your literature, you know, five times a week, that type of thing.
Yeah, so it really depends on what else you're doing. So, of course, as you know, you have to look at the body holistically. And I'm sure when you have a patient, you want to know, what are they eating? Are they exercising? You know, are they drinking water? Are they taking supplements? So it's one of those, it depends. So on a product like carnosine, if someone is exercising frequently, let's say 5 days per week, they might want to use carnosine more frequently because of the way that it's metabolized. But carnosine has a relatively long half-life as composed to glutathione, which is only about 7 minutes. So if someone were sedentary or they were only exercising 2 or 3 days a week, they might be able to get away with using carnosine 3-4 days a week. Someone that's athletic, they want to use it a little bit more. Glutathione, if someone had a job, let's say they were a welder and they were going to be exposed to toxic metals, they might want to use glutathione daily to protect themselves. On the other hand, you know, if someone lived up in the mountains, they're breathing clean air, they have a clean diet, they might not need to detox with glutathione as frequently. So it really depends. And this is what's so amazing about having so many practitioners in the company, is that they get to help their patients customize how they use the patches.
Absolutely. And that's why that is that's so helpful. In fact, it actually leads in, I'm going to skip over to a question by Jonna, who asked, if you live in an area where you have high copper and many test high for it, should you supplement?
Not necessarily. Not
Okay.
necessarily. So this is rather rare, but there is such a thing as copper toxicity, where individuals are prone to it, not through, most people don't have to worry about developing any type of toxicity from copper. I suppose if someone was going to have liver every day, liver is very, very high in copper. You could get 30, 40, 50 milligrams easy. But even still, the detoxification pathways will clear out the excess copper very efficiently. So there were experiments where people were given injections of 50 milligrams of copper, and within 2 hours, the copper levels went down to normal. Now, that said, the RDA of copper is 900 micrograms per day. 2.5 milligrams is a standard over-the-counter dose. And Melinda and Connor and I, we've looked at research which shows up to 10 milligrams of copper daily is safe. But if someone were genetically predisposed to accumulation of copper, or if someone had metallic copper poisoning, then they shouldn't supplement with copper. There's no reason why they can't use X39, but they might want to avoid copper supplementation.
Yeah, the X39 would already have what it needed to do what it was doing, and there would be no need for it.
Right.
Dr. Amory, who ND, says, does glutathione help to chelate or remove aluminum as well as mercury? And for someone going through the chelation, would it be recommended to titrate the use?
Okay, so we did a study back in 2006 where we looked at 16 different heavy metals. So we were looking at mercury, aluminum, lead, arsenic, and as I recall, glutathione was a mild chelator of aluminum. However, carnosine is actually much better at chelating aluminum than glutathione is. I actually think that one of the reasons why people develop Alzheimer's disease is linked to aluminum toxicity. Of course, it's linked to beta amyloid 2 protein, but I tend to believe aluminum toxicity is involved there as well. And what we see in the literature is that carnosine is used to improve, not only improve cognitive function, but remove aluminum. And there's evidence, I don't want to make a claim about our patch because we haven't tested it, but you'll see in the literature that people are using carnosine as a therapeutic for people that have Alzheimer's disease. So in any case, I would look at, for chelation, I would look at glutathione and carnosine, and then of course, traditional IVs of things like EDTA are also going to be very effective.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's great information on the carnosine. Dr. Pamela, who's an MD, said since the introduction of X39, which resets the stem cells to a younger you, why do you still need all the other metabolic type of patches, glutathione, carnosine, et cetera? And I think you've kind of nailed that, but if you want to expand on that at all, as well.
So basically, it's a great point because X39 covers so many bases. Most people that use X39 may not need any of the other patches, with a few very, very important exceptions. X39 does give a mild increase in glutathione. So for most people, that'll be fine. If someone wanted to go through a heavier detox, they'd use the glutathione patch. We can see up to a 300% increase in glutathione in 24 hours. We're not going to get that with X39. X39, as far as I can tell, is not going to elevate carnosine. So if someone wanted those benefits, they could use the carnosine patch. There's also huge synergy between X39 and EON. EON is a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory, and the two work really well. So I would definitely encourage practitioners to use X39 and EON. But definitely this practitioner is correct that X39 does indeed cover many of the benefits of the other products.
Perfect, perfect. Are you okay to answer a couple of more?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so Jacqueline, who is the PT, says if you have any information regarding the effect of the reduction of high blood pressure, more specifically to normalizing BP, can you speak to the X39 and the cardiovascular system benefits?
Yeah, I'm not sure we understand all the mechanisms yet of exactly how X39 reduces high blood pressure, but we consistently see this in clinical studies. More than, I think it's 3 clinical studies we have now where we've measured blood pressure, and in each case, people that have high blood pressure, so let's, as an example, people have gone from 140, 142 down to 125, 128. So that's rather significant. So what's going on there? I'm not sure if this is a simple mechanism where X39 is somehow inducing increases in nitric oxide. Is it possible? We have some anecdotal evidence that there's actually reduction in the accumulation of arterial plaque. We're not completely sure how it does that, but we see evidence of it.
Perfect, perfect. Dr. Rita, who SCDRN, asked, how do the crystals get created, from what source, and how are they tritated with the exact frequencies needed and manufactured?
Okay, so this is this is going to step on some proprietary trade secret.
I thought it might, but
Yeah.
they asked, so.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Well, I can give you the simple answer. First thing is to figure out exactly, what is it that you want to do, which peptide do you want to synthesize, and this is something that we've learned in our research that the patch technology does really well, is synthesize peptides, especially simple peptides like carnosine, glutathione, and GHK. Essentially what I do is I look at relevant data on the structure of a peptide, the molecular weight, other information, and I have a model that I've developed, and then essentially I use naturally occurring compounds. There's not going to be anything in the patches that are toxic, and the building materials that I found that I really like to use are naturally occurring amino acids, sugars, and putting them into water-based solutions. And effectively, I have been literally making crystals since I was about 14 years old. But essentially, the crystals are fabricated, if you will. They're grown like any normal crystal with supersaturated solutions, and then they're deposited onto a polyester fabric, and this is done at very high speed. And so, we made, I think, over 30 million patches last year, as an example. So yeah, there's some trade secret information there, but essentially the crystals are made from amino acids and sugars and other natural materials.
Well, I think our last few questions might be a little bit more, a little simpler and not so much around proprietary information.
Right.
Somebody who has working with several dentists, biological dentists, would like to know what they should be carrying and what best would support their patients in their practice.
So I have a good friend of mine. He was my lab partner in college, and he's a dentist today in Connecticut. And we've been exploring the use of our patches in dental surgery for aftercare, because anecdotally, many of our members have done this and had great success with it. Generally speaking, what people have used is X39, LifeWave, and Eon. And the reasons are fairly obvious, because X39 is going to help with repair, and Eon is going to help to manage inflammation. LifeWave as well. And we don't have time to get into all of the protocols, but if a dentist wanted to try this, I would recommend X39 on the back of the neck, and then Eon at the point of the surgery or the point of the dental pain.
Fabulous. And that's going to be across the board in many practices. You're going to find that where they're managing pain, they're managing inflammation.
Sure, of course, absolutely.
Absolutely. So we have John, who is an MT, and Dr. Carol, who is an MD, that have asked, can you help people to understand why some people feel worse initially instead of feeling better using the patches?
Sure. This is going to be Herxheimer's reaction detox effect. So we know that fats are going to hold on to different toxins, and most people, unfortunately, today, they don't have the cleanest diet. They don't drink enough water. They're taking things they shouldn't be, and so they're going to accumulate these toxins in the body fats. And when you use a product like X39, it's going to increase beta oxidation, fat burning, and so these toxins get mobilized. So if someone is not drinking enough water, they're not exercising, they're not moving the lymphatic system, they're going to experience things like headaches, fatigue, and nausea. So they should be removing the patch and drinking lots of water. But that's initially, you could say, first 3 to 5 days might be common when this happens to people. And of course, it's a good thing. We want to get rid of those toxins.
Absolutely. And, you know, I noticed initially and didn't think I really had anything to repair until I started noticing some retracing and some things happening 2 months, 6 months in. But initially there was some dry mouth and
Right.
whatnot. And I have found that that seems to be telling you it's working. Hydrate, it's doing its job.
Yeah, many people find that they are also thirsty all the time. And of course, people should listen to their body and drink more water and help get those toxins out. So being thirsty is also, part of that initial startup period.
Well, if we talk about even in our instructions, I think sometimes it's overlooked that the number 2 thing besides 12 hours on, 12 hours off is that to stay very well hydrated. And it really
Absolutely.
makes all the difference in the world. So it is something we want
Absolutely.
to make sure to tell our clients and our patients about because it can be overlooked. Dr. Tatiana, ND, asked a question. And she wanted to know, this is a question that comes up a lot. I'm not sure how much you can go into this, but she said, for those on chemotherapy, before, during, and after, what patches or protocols might be best? We know Eon is anti-inflammatory and anti-stress, but what other benefits might there be?
Oh, well,
I
this could
saved
be
the best for last.
yeah, you did. So we've actually worked with an oncologist in Italy, and so we have quite a bit of data on this. So the first thing I'd say is we don't want to make any claims about treating cancer. If we look at this first from the point of view of aftercare. So let's say that you have an individual, they have gone through chemotherapy, radiation, what have you, and we want to do things like improve their rate of recovery, improve their energy, reduce incidence of nausea. Then using energy patches on the wrists at the pericardium 6 point, that is well recognized even by FDA as a point that can help prevent nausea. So that might be one thing. We actually did use the glutathione patch and the energy patches with this oncologist in a study in Rome. And what we found was that we could dramatically reduce incidence of nausea after chemotherapy. And we also saw people recovered much more quickly. They didn't have those dips in energy that most people have. Now, we have done other work. I might not be at liberty to talk about it because it might start to sound like we're making a claim that the patches could be used in that way. But I think what I would end with is that the mechanisms behind how cancer works has been known for decades, since the 1940s. And in fact, there's been Nobel Prizes that have been awarded. Otto Warburg, of course, won 2 Nobel Prizes on studying the anaerobic mechanisms of cancer cells. And this, of course, is why oxidative therapies are so powerful. So in any case, I would say if a practitioner would be interested in using the patches with their patients that have cancer and they wanted just to support overall health and well-being, I would be looking at things like X39 and Eon.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. And I do hope we can come back and dig into some more sometime. I
Sure
mean,
thing.
we had a great group on today. And Robin, if you want to jump back in, I think we've got a couple of the doctors that want to come on, give a couple of testimonies to how they use this in their practice. And thank you again for your time.
Absolutely, Connie. Thank you. Always a privilege. Nice to see you.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin.
Well, okay. So, Connie, you were fabulous. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And David, I'm going to have to rewatch that one. There was so much, and I'm going to have to take notes, which I wasn't able to do tonight. And I want to just acknowledge everyone who's hung out with us. Up until a few minutes ago, we still had over 500 people. We're still at 490, and you guys are rocking. A lot of you have put questions into the chat. We collected these questions from practitioners ahead of time, so I apologize that we weren't able to get to all of your questions. We would have been here all night. But what we do want to close with is just have a few practitioners, a few that have been around a while and a few that are really quite new, share a little bit about their experience with LifeWave. So I'm going to start out with my sponsor, Dr. Nicholas. And you can unmute your camera now and join us.
All right.
There you are. Oh my goodness. Great.
Wow. Don't you just love David?
Yes.
The guy's a brilliant genius.
Totally love him. Totally.
Right?
Yes.
So yes, here we are. What were you talking to say, Robin? I'm sorry. I didn't know if you asked me a question or not.
Yeah, well, no. Why don't you share a little bit about, what kind of practitioner you are, how long you've been in practice, how long you've been with LifeWave. And
just got so excited watching David. So yeah, so here we are. My name's Dr. Nicholas Tipley. I'm a chiropractor in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been in chiropractor for 22 years. And we found LifeWave 12 years ago. And again, hearing David speak, you can see why I'm still here and still as excited as the first day ever. Just seeing and hearing what he said. I share this with patients daily, and I see many miracles. I call them miracles because that's what happens. And the clinical outcomes of what I've had happen in our practice is it's a perfect marriage for what we do. We personally brought in over 500 docs in our 12 years, and it's shown them how to integrate into their practices. So no matter what type of a practitioner you are, there's a perfect place for you. The technology fits in any style of practice, and your clinical outcomes, as you heard Connie say, will dramatically improve. And whether you just use it for yourself personally, or you use it for a therapy in your practice, or sell it, or get more involved like I have. I love the business and I love the freedom. It's been the best 12 years, and I can't wait to see what's coming because it's only going to get better. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nicholas. It has been a joy for me to learn from you. I don't get to connect so much anymore, but in those early days, we were bonded.
That's
Thank
right.
you. Thank you so much. And now we're going to bring on Dr. Jeff. And Dr. Jeff, you can put your camera on and let us see who you are. There you are. Great. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Robin. It's so exciting to talk to everyone this evening. And I'm a physician here in Dallas, Texas. I've been out of school and kind of practicing for about 4 years now. I'm the young buck of the group, I guess. And I was introduced to LifeWave about 8 months ago. It's been such an interesting and fascinating ride thus far, both personally and professionally. I mean, there's so many different aspects to the technology that make me excited. My focus and emphasis is on preventative medicine and lifestyle medicine. And so it integrates perfectly with what I do with my patients. They're oftentimes looking for a holistic sort of non-pharmaceutical approach to being in a better state of health. And so this is just an excellent tool in my tool bag for a lot of different reasons. I mean, we've seen improvements with cognitive function. We've seen wound healing. We've seen blood sugar and blood pressure improvement. I mean, there's just been so many different things that I can share with you guys that are excellent and are really beneficial for all types of pathologies and things that you're going to come in contact with, depending upon your particular and respective practices of healthcare. And so just excited to be here as always. And I just can't say enough. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Jeff. Wonderful to have you. And it means so much to all of us in the field to have practitioners like yourselves to really sharing the great news. And as Dr. Nicholas says, and I quote him all the time, enhance the clinical outcome of the work you do with your patients. So I'm going to bring on Dr. Joan. She's on the phone and she's going to talk a little bit about the business for just a minute. And you should be available to talk now. Whoops. Are you there, Dr. Joan? Let's see. I found your number. 1 minute. It's not as easy to find numbers as it is people, but I did have you. I guess I can't hear you yet. Wish the numbers were alphabetical. I'm still looking. So while here we go. No, that's not it. Okay, I don't know where you went, Dr. Joan. Darn. I'm going to try to find you, and I'm going to bring on our next doctor and see if we can locate you, okay? So now let's bring on, we have got Dr. Walt, and you should now be able to bring your camera on and let us see you, Dr. Walt.
Can you see me? Yeah.
There you are.
Hey.
What
Hi,
kind
everybody.
of physician are you?
So I'm the older of all the physicians. I'm an acupuncture physician. I started out in 1974 in Western medicine and made my way up into going to China in 1990, studying there for 3 months, then finishing the 4-year program in Miami to become a nationally boarded acupuncture physician. So I was really happy to hear David like our medicine, which is traditional Chinese medicine. I have seen a great increase in compliance and happiness of my patients. Basically, my patients know that the 2 things that I ask them to tell me about are if they have pain or insomnia, because if you're not, if you have pain, you're not healing. And if you have insomnia, you're not really healing. So with the patches, I have been able to address those 2 areas pretty much immediately with, especially with the pain aspect of it. And the compliance has been very good. After that, we explain it to the patients and they're off and running to become customers. So I'm really happy. You know, the features, advantages, and benefits of this company, it's a no-brainer to me. I'm very happy to be with everybody. And I'm really happy that Dr. Jeffrey, he spoke tonight. You know, he's a young physician and boy, he's right at the beginning of this wonderful paradigm shift that we're going to experience. So congratulations, Dr. Jeffrey. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. And Dr. Joan, we have you and you just need to unmute your phone and then we can hear you. Are you there? You should be able to talk. Okay, well, we'll see if you can figure that out, just if you can, because you are muted. And somehow I can't, I've done my job on this end, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to one more brief testimonial from a homeopath out of Arizona, Dr. Jana, and she's just got a quick story to share that's so amazing that she wanted to share it this evening. So you should be able to unmute your camera, right? Unmute your camera. Open up your camera so we can see you, Dr. Jana.
Hi, I don't know why the photograph doesn't come on, the video, but anyway, I'll share this. I've been in practice for 35 years, and one of my most dramatic experiences with LifeWave came at the beginning of my experience with LifeWave. I had a patient come in who had 2 years before, had had some strokes and things. And she had taken 2 years to rehabilitate, to be able to walk and talk again. And I thought I'd experiment with something. And so I put the energy patches in a hat, her husband's hat, actually, which were the tan on the left and the back, and the white on the front and the right. And at the top of the hat, I put X39 and carnosine, and I put it on her head. And we spoke for about 10 minutes. And at the end of the 10 minutes, I said, well, you know, it's a little early, but let's see if you can, if you can write, because the one thing she could never do was write again and sign her name. And I gave her a pad and a pen, and she wrote her name for the first time. And that ability never left her. She walked out knowing that she could write, and her daughter confirmed that she was writing beautifully after that.
Oh, what we say in this business all the time is wow. Thank you so much, Donna. Wonderful to hear that story. And there is a brain balancing protocol for everyone to know about that synchronizes brain frequencies for, stroke patients, TBIs, for people with neurologically based illnesses, for people that have had mental imbalances. It seems to do amazing things by putting the patches in the hat. And I think everybody knows, and if you don't know, well, actually, that we have a lot of guests here tonight. The patches don't even need to touch your body. They're activated from 3 to 6 inches from your body. So, and they work on animals also. We have 5 animals, and 4 of the 5 get patches. So amazing stories. We have a horse website. We have incredible animal stories. So we have veterinarians coming on board. So I want to thank every one of you that stuck around. I mean, we still have 438 people with us. So you guys are total champions. And we did this for you as healthcare practitioners, for you as distributors and customers that want to reach out to practitioners to give them, David, the best of David. And what we are so blessed and privileged to have David and have this amazing science. So if you are a guest this evening, please get back to the person, who invited you. And as a practitioner, you have an option. Use it for yourself, share it with your patients and clients. If you want to continue to share with other practitioners or your patients, you can actually develop a lovely income. And Dr. Joan was going to talk about the business, and I'll just briefly share that Dr. Joan has an extensive background in business. She's also a chiropractor of 20 plus years and has been involved with LifeWave over 12 years. And she didn't understand network marketing. And I think, like a lot of other practitioners and a lot of other people in general, have judgment about this profession. And I know when people have judgment about it, they've either had a less than stellar experience, or they really just don't understand what it was. And what Dr. Joan did is she became a student. She learned about the profession. And the more she learned, the more she fell in love with it. And now she's totally in love with it because it's dramatically changed her life. And it's wonderful to know that whether you're putting the hours in or not, the dollars keep showing up. So there is an opportunity if that's something that's a fit for you. And as Dr. Nicholas said, there's many different ways to incorporate it into your practice. Reach out to the person who invited you, and we can help you find the best way to incorporate it into your practice. So thank you, every one of you, hundreds of people, and all of those that will be sharing this recording. We'll make it available on our YouTube channel, Live Younger YouTube, in the next day or so. So it will be available to share, and we'll be letting everyone know. A wonderful, wonderful presentation, David Schmidt. It's just a joy, a gift, a blessing to have you in our lives. And my life has dramatically changed because of you. And thank you so much. So at this time, we're going to say goodbye to everybody. I hate to go because it's been so wonderful, but thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.